Recently, some parts of our region have seen housing costs skyrocket. That's created problems, especially for seasonal workers and the businesses that depend on them. It's also raised questions about land use and what we should do when the demand for housing is at odds with our need for food. We take you to Traverse City, Michigan to get the story.
North America is dealing with hurricanes, wildfires, and drought, all of which are expected to get worse with climate change. That, along with the work-from-home revolution and an overall desire for a slower-paced lifestyle, has boosted demand for housing in the Great Lakes region, especially in places like Traverse City, Michigan.
Why people are moving here from across the country, the climate is changing. It's happening at an alarming rate.
Matt Hodges is a Traverse City broker and developer, and owner of a real estate firm, Cultura Group. Matt grew up in Traverse City and agreed to show us around the area.
Although we do have, some would call a harsh winter up here, it's still nothing compared to losing everything at any given moment. So I think people are looking at our area as a safe haven to what's happening across the country.
Out-of-state buyers are reshaping the local economy. Recently, Traverse City was named a top retirement city and now ranks #1 for millennial millionaires. In the last 2 years, the average residential sales price jumped from about $283,000 in early 2020 to well over $400,000 in the first 2 months of 2022. Some homes have even been bought in 7-figure cash deals. Locals are getting left behind.
It's becoming more difficult for locals, especially those in the service industries, to afford to work and live in the city or anywhere close to that right now. So we're in a really difficult transition. I think that's similar to a lot of places across the country.
The city's zoning ordinances prevent building up in walkable downtown. So to add housing, Matt doesn't have much of a choice. Development has to sprawl out, and sometimes that means taking over farmland.
All this was owned by one family at one point. So this is called Stafford Meadows. And you can see some of our builds here, some active builds. This was all farm at some point.
This development is aimed at the affordable luxury market, mini versions of luxury homes priced just under the market average. Demand for these units is expected to keep rising, partly driven by climate migration. And that's something developers can't ignore.
People are moving to our area at record numbers, so we as developers see the same thing. There is no way that we can sit still and just watch it happen because we'll be left behind. So we have to go out. We have to find these tracts of land to offer housing for the majority of people.
The development pressure is happening now. It's not a hypothetical. It's not something we think is going to happen in 10 years. It's happening as we speak.
Kofi Pashavi is the executive director of the Grand Traverse Conservation District, which oversees land and water resource conservation projects throughout Grand Traverse County. Another resource he's trying to conserve, farmland.
You have to think about food production. Just look at what happened during the pandemic. What happened to our food delivery systems. And then on top of that, the war in Ukraine. If we can, we don't want to have to rely on faraway places to feed our communities. And that's one of the things that I am personally working on.
The Grand Traverse area is a farming sweet spot. With water scarcity threatening agriculture in the West, Kofi thinks the Great Lakes region needs to become more agriculturally productive. Lakeview Hill Farm is a 58-acre organic farm specializing in greenhouse and hoop house production.
Hello, how are you? If you look at here, they are growing carrots, they are growing peppers, tomatoes, a very diverse, produce that they take to market. So it doesn't get any more fresh than this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kofi envisions Lakeview Hill as a model. This is what the future of farming in this area could look like.
This is a greenhouse they are using to grow tomatoes and peppers. Helps them extend the season.
But the average age of farmers and ranchers in the U.S. is 58. So moving toward a future that looks like Lakeview Hill Farm requires fostering a whole new generation of farmers. And Kofi has a plan for that.
This is the Meyer Farm, and this is going to be the site of the Incubator Farm program.
In 2020, Kofi founded the Great Lakes Farm Incubator Program. Soon, this plot of land will become a classroom where beginning farmers will learn how to start a sustainable farming business.
I've been fantasizing over this program for a long time, but now it's happening.
The inaugural class will start training in spring 2023, but they face a big barrier to farm ownership. Competition from developers is making it harder to keep farmland in farming.
So land acquisition is the biggest barrier for a beginning farmer. The cost of land is pretty high. And then on top of that, the equipment, whereas the developer has a deeper pocket.
There's the dilemma. By developing farmland for much needed housing, are we threatening our own food supply? It's estimated that 70% of farmland will transfer ownership over the next 20 years as more farmers and ranchers enter retirement. And farmers have good reason to cash out.
Farmers are not known for investing in the stock market. Their wealth is in their land. So when it's time for them to retire, they need something to retire onto. So they have to find a way to get a return from the land that they've been farming all these years. And if a developer comes in and say, hey, I can pay you twice or three times what your land is worth, and there is a beginning farmer saying, oh, I can only pay 60% of the value of your farm to you, I think the decision is fairly easy. You can't blame them.
Louis Rasho is a third-generation farmer and owner of Rasho Feed. His grandfather settled the land in 1900, passed it on to his father. And now that Louis is considering retirement, developers are making offers.
They want to see us feeding the chickens. You want to hand feed them? Chick, 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 chick. Close to 120 years now the land's been in the family. It's a little cliche perhaps, but I kind of feel like this isn't my farm, it's my grandfather's farm. And I am now the caretaker of it. Those woods are mine, to that set of pines down there out to the road. This used to be 80 acres, but we sold off some down in the south end.
Kofi wants Louis to lease his land to the Farm Incubator Program or put it in a conservation trust. But Louis is on the fence.
I say my roots run pretty deep here. It's hard to pull them up and move away. I thought about putting it in a conservancy situation where it couldn't be developed, but then I felt that wasn't fair to my children or Holly's children. If someone gets in a medical emergency and they need money to survive on, they have this as a resource. So as much as I want to see it open, once I'm gone, it's up to the next generation, I guess.
If climate change drives more people to the Great Lakes, the region will need more housing and more food. The next generation will decide how land gets used.
Issue of growing food and the issue of housing humans, right? We have to do both, and we can do both, right? You can only grow food in certain spaces, and it behooves us to preserve those spaces that can be used for growing food and keep them in agriculture. We're not just talking about keeping farms where they are, the way they are in perpetuity. We're talking about better farming, better farmers. And I think we can do it.
This looks like a weed field, but it's actually has pumpkins and squashes in it.
Developers like Matt are weighing the highest and best use of land.
When we talk about farming, if it's not producing a yield that makes sense, then the highest and best use is no longer farming. It becomes something where, is it going to be better for housing? Is it going to be better for commercial activity, a shopping center? Where do the dollars land in it? Yeah. Once the farm is gone, in houses or commercial, whatever goes up, you can't go back. There's no opportunity to go back to a farm once it's sold. I don't know the answer to that. That's a big question. That's a big one.
At Great Lakes Now, we aim to cover the Great Lakes region and the people who live here, like you. Please follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and sign up for our newsletter at greatlakesnow.org.